Welcome back to another video at Health Freedom with Dr. Layne. In this video, we're going to talk about ministries, incorporated, unincorporated, and we'll throw in a little bit about the differences between ministries and churches. The last video, we covered churches and what makes a church a church. So you heard about things like that they have regular services and ordained ministers. They usually have an established place of worship, formal code of doctrine and discipline. You can go see the previous video for a deeper description. The key defining factor that distinguishes a ministry lies within the primary purpose of the organization. So what are you going to be doing in that ministry? Ministries can conduct outreach like food drives and providing blankets for homeless and shelters. A shelter could be a ministry. A lot of times you would see a ministry in a disaster area, like a hurricane or a tsunami or something like that. Next thing you know, the ministry is now got a hospital and a school and that sort of. Again, we want to remember that we are not talking about corporated ministries. We're talking about the structure of the unincorporated private domain. Some ministries might come in the form of leadership training or Bible institutes, some conferences and retreats. But I made a little list of people that I've worked with and people that we might be thinking of, or the types of ministries that we might be thinking of. So we've got healing ministries, educational ministries, foster care ministries, organic farming, and you might have an animal care ministry, a disaster ministry, and could you have one ministry that covered all of these things together? Yeah, you could. A ministry can be in a church, so where you have a church, then the ministry division of that church could be doing these things like the outreach, and that's more of a traditional structure that you might be like, oh, well, of course, my own church does ministries. I've heard of that church that has a ministry within its organizational structure. If you like what you're hearing, you might consider subscribing and sharing and liking this video as well as the channel. I really do appreciate you in the community. Let's dig into more of that topic of the separation between church and state. Many, I'd say the majority, as we're all waking up and uncovering and discovering what has gone on in our world, but many have mistakenly taken this separation between the church and the state to mean that spiritual organizations should not be involved in the affairs of the world, to their absolute and our absolute downfall. It's left people and spiritual and religious organizations, which typically, not always, as we are also discovering, but typically are out to do good in the world and be a light in the world. And so it's led to them being meek and wanting to act like good people and be quiet because we don't want to make any waves, when instead we have the power of God's law behind us, and we need to stand up and be bold and courageous, especially when certain organizations, big government, are out of their lane. Must be involved, and we can see that a ministry does that. Ministry is out there really, really doing good things in the world. I mean, what's not good about having a healing ministry or a gardening ministry or an animal ministry, an outreach ministry? As we look into this, God's meaning, the true meaning of his declaration that his kingdom is not of this world, that it does not derive its authority and its power from the world or its institutions. this is where we make our ministry and private membership association stand. We get to stand on the spiritual foundations, God's law foundation that is scriptural and also in our Constitution. We continue to be the light of the world through our good works, but not in the public domain, where we are subject to those jurisdictions and their rules and regulations. We're going to say, we're going to take our good works and put them into the private domain, where we are living in the best interest of God, people, and our earthly home. Thanks for being here. Next video, we're going to talk about faith-based organizations.